So I suppose my field of research, if I could be told to have one at all, my PhD is in psychology, ostensibly. However, it covered machine learning, psychophysiology, neuroscience, and obviously statistical analyses and so forth. And it's the classification of cognitive states or cognitive state estimation. So roughly that's it. I've worked in aerospace, like British Aerospace Engineering, CIO, various other companies creating adaptive systems, neuroadaptive systems. Notably worked with NASA again on a neuroadaptive system. So roughly that's where my area is, to classify psychophysiological states and to use them in real time, always with an applied front rather than a theoretical. So I tend to make things work where other people tend to talk about making things work. Responsible AI is important in my field of research because that's actually a very, very tough question. To be fair, it's kind of not important, whether it's responsible or not. However, its application more than likely is. So if you consider that maybe we're creating adaptive systems to keep people in a certain state in order for them to perform their jobs, the AI, obviously, that does the cognitive estimation and so forth, must take into account other human factors rather than just the state. This was something I found previously in my work, was that to keep someone always high is actually just as bad as if they were in the low. Yeah. So the best thing to do is to keep people in a Goldilocks zone, as I coined it, just right. Yeah, not too high, not too low. So responsible AI in this case would obviously be responsible for basically the well-being of the human using the system. Um, and of course, when it comes to capitalism and the aggregation of data, so if you've got like say 100,000 employees, 50,000 employees are using these types of systems, then what exactly happens to the data thereafter? Because obviously, again, with AI and machine learning in general, it's all about the data. So if we aggregate all of these data and then we start to build systems on these data, then what exactly happens to the systems thereafter? What about the people that were involved in the making of the AI and so forth? Were they biased? Were they unbiased, etc., etc.? For me, one of the biggest issues when people talk about responsible AI or ethical AI, etc., etc., is that well, they're created by humans on humans.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not the algorithm and it's not the AI that's biased. It's the humans that make it that are biased. Yeah. So when we start to talk about, certainly with the upcoming projects that we're all going to propose and work within for the Evido umbrella, um, ethics must be at the backbone of everything. However, those ethics must be from the philosophical, ethical side of things rather than current modern day ethics, because these are different than what we once considered to be, um, say, like the ethical backbone of human society, which has obviously changed, etc., for cultural laws. So if we're going to create them, then we need to go right back to the original stuff from like Aristotle, etc., and then work forwards from this to create a nice ethical framework that everyone can use, that creates a balanced and responsible algorithm or AI agent thereafter. So is it important in my field of research? Well, obviously neuroscience, psychophysiology. I just wanted to do things and I wanted to work and to correctly classify things. So in that regard, no. However, in terms of its application within the workplace, yes. So there we go. Hmm. That's again, well, these questions are pretty tough to be fair. One unanswered question. Actually, how does AI fit? This is the biggest issue right now. It's we're creating these systems and they're awesome. I love them. I have absolutely no objections. However, they're all created to be idiot savants. Yeah, so they're incredibly complex at doing one singular thing. However, with that said, within like 5 to 10 years, new advancements, and they're all coming on stream all of the time, will make AI much more general. And when it becomes more general, I'm not talking like AGI, that's the big thing. That's probably 50 or 100 years away. But even now, AI can replace people very, very quickly. Just literally like insert AI, take away the person. So for me, the biggest unanswered question is how do we keep the human in the loop? How do we allow humans to be augmented cognitively or physiologically, or however, by AI, so the partnership is stronger, to coin like a gestalt, yeah, where both parts are stronger than each one alone. This, in my opinion, is basically what is unanswered and what needs to be looked at very, very closely. Because if we can have partnerships, because again, it's kind of like cart before the horse, because AI is not quite there yet. But we can see that like during COVID and so forth, people are getting sick. AIs don't sleep, they don't get sick, they don't eat, etc. So they can do those repetitive tasks that humans once did. But as they become more and more advanced, they're moving into the cognitive realms of thinking, which is ordinarily where humans reside. It's like we're general, we can do all of these things. Humans are good at applying their intellect to many, many domains. And we're starting to see penetration into those domains. So like where it was once blue collar work, it's now white collar work, and soon it'll be into the academic and cognitive domain. So again, the partnership, it's the partnership. How do we create trust? How do we create confidence? How do we create like I say like a fair partnership between both sides, where both sides, when used together and used effectively, become better than each one alone? This would be, for me, the unanswered question and the unanswered research. Because currently, as we've seen, the replacement of humans by automation and automated systems and AI agents is just proceeding apace because it's cheaper. After an initial outlay, it's all good. It's like, oh no, we spent all this money in AI, and then you don't have to pay wages thereafter. So, the penetration is very, very fast. So we need to slow this down, and we need to figure out how to make humans and AI work together more effectively. In my free time, I like to work. No. Aside from work, I like to read sci-fi. I like to watch sci-fi. I also like to read research from fields that have absolutely nothing to do with anything that I do. Because for me, and like certainly at the work I do at the lab, I never know where my next idea is going to come from, and I get asked to do very, very complicated things, like create entire research umbrellas and have people fit within them, and I'm like, well, this is not my area, but okay. And so that's what I do. I try to feed my brain with things that are completely unrelated to the stuff I actually do, in order to try and, like, I don't know, keep my mind fresh, etc., etc. It's not necessarily all about work, but I love sci-fi. What can I say? I'm a sci-fi buff. My ideal life, or my ideal plan for humanity would be, if anyone reads them, the Neil Asher books, the human polity. So this is human and AI together, where the AI are way stronger than we are, like way stronger. They basically rule humanity, but quite a lot of the AIs hate humanity and want to leave us behind. Some of them are like, well, the ones that actually control everything are like, well, let's force them to evolve. So they stick around and they're like trying to make us evolve and become better. And it's humans and AI together are stronger. That's basically the story, and it's something I've always considered. So yeah, I mean, that for me is the ideal life. That's what I do in my free time. Yeah, I don't ski, I don't sport, etc., etc. So